Hello, Oscar. Hope you're well. And it's hello from Grandpa, me, and from Lucy. You all right, Lucy? Yeah, having a good time? Yep. That's good. And it's love from Granny too. Now, first things first. I've seen a lovely video of you. Oh dear, skiing. I can't believe it. Skiing. You must have had a great time with your mummy in that lovely video of you coming down skiing and then pointing your skis together at the front end to stop. That was very good indeed. So I hope you really enjoyed it, Oscar. You look just the part. So fantastic. Well done. So, and I hope your mummy and daddy are well, and that your little sister is also very well and playing with lots of toys. And hopefully you'll be playing with her. Now, if you remember last time, reading from the Playful Panda, Great Uncle Horace had arrived back on his motorbike. I think that must be Kiki there as well. Yeah, Kiki sat on the sidecar. So, and Great Uncle Horace said he was in Asia, northern China to be precise, and he brought a very important delivery back to the zoo. And Great Uncle Horace's eyes twinkled. I came as fast as I could, by boat and then by bike. That's why Kiki here is rather cross. We drove along some very bumpy roads, you see. Motorbike is not her favourite way to travel. Meep snickered and Kiki gave a haughty squawk. The cheeky lemur and the proud old bird loved their owners, but they didn't like each other very much. Naughty Meep, whispered Zoe. Anyway, my dear, hop on, said Great Uncle Horace. Where are we going? Zoe asked as she climbed onto the motorbike behind Great Uncle Horace. With Meep on her shoulder, she spotted a large wooden crate tucked into the sidecar next to Kiki. What could it be? Great Uncle Horace had mentioned a very important delivery. So what do you think it might be then, Oscar? Zoe's heart leapt. Please let it be a new animal for the rescue zoo, she thought hopefully. What do you think, Moosey? Is that good? Yeah, that'd be good to have a panda in the zoo, wouldn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Ray, rock on. Oh, not far, said Great Uncle Horace, smiling mysteriously. Hold tight. The engine roared, and they raced back along the path. All around them the air was filled with happy squawks, whinnies, and hoots as the news that Great Uncle Horace was back spread through the zoo. They turned the corner and parked to the side of the path underneath a sprawling plum tree. Zoe, look where Goo has brought us, Meep whispered in Zoe's ear. Su Lin's empty enclosure, Zoe gasped. Su Lin was the panda, you remember, who was rather old, and I think she died, but now they're going to have a new one. Whoa. Zoe glanced at the wooden crate. Suddenly her heart was racing with excitement. Great Uncle Horace took off his helmet and turned to Zoe. I know you must be wondering what I've brought home with me, my dear, he said, smiling. Well, it is a new animal for the zoo, and we already have the perfect home for it. Can you guess what it is? Can you guess what it is, Oscar? I think you could be right. Meep bounced up and down on Zoe's shoulder. I know, the little lemur chirped. Zoe took a deep, nervous breath. She thought she knew too, and she desperately hoped she was right. Is it a panda? Zoe asked, crossing her fingers tightly. Great Uncle Horace shook his head. Meep squeaked in surprise, and Zoe's heart sank in disappointment. As soon as they had arrived at Su Lin's enclosure, she'd been sure it was a panda. Ooh, what's it going to be, Oscar, then? Then Zoe realised Great Uncle Horace was chuckling softly. He climbed off the motorbike and helped Zoe and Meep down too. Kiki flew out of the sidecar and landed in the plum tree overhead, making a few golden leaves drift gently to the ground. Then Great Uncle Horace reached over and opened the door of the wooden crate. Just a little bit. Have a look, he told her. Zoe peeped inside. It was warm and snug in the crate, and she could make out a fluffy black and white bundle. Whoa! The bundle wriggled, and Zoe grinned in delight. There were 2 adorable creatures, cuddled up asleep together. I can't believe it, she cried. It's not a panda. It's 2 pandas. Wow, Oscar, that's great. That's right, said Great Uncle Horace, beaming happily. 2 baby panda cubs. They're just 3 months old and they're sisters. Zoe, meet the Rescue Zoo's first ever panda twins. Nah, Oscar, aren't they lovely? That's a picture of them. Wow, so we're on to next chapter. Chapter 3, Zoes Mistake. Oh, I don't know what that will be, do you? What do you think, Moosey? No, I don't know either, says Moosey. Zoe stared in delight at the fluffy bundles. One of the sleeping cubs rolled over and yawned, showing her tiny pink tongue, before snuggling back up against her sister. They're beautiful, Zoe said softly. Where did they come from? From another zoo, Great Uncle Horace explained. Twin pandas are very rare indeed, Zoe. But it costs a lot of money to look after just one panda, because they needed so much special care. The zoo could only afford to keep one cub and was going to send her sister to a panda orphanage. Oh, my goodness me. Zoe frowned. But that's horrible. They're twins. They belong together. Exactly, my dear, Great Uncle Horace cried, nodding. That's why I decided to bring them both to the rescue zoo. It was the only way to make sure they weren't split up. He glanced at the enclosure, then smiled at Zoe gently. Besides, I knew how everyone was missing Su Lin. Of course, the twins can never replace her. But when I had the chance to bring pandas back to the zoo, I just had to take it. I'm glad you did, Zoe replied, grinning. Meep chatted in agreement, and Zoe smiled at her little friend. Well, I'd better tell everyone else, said Great Uncle Horace. He rummaged around in the pockets of his safari jacket. Zoe giggled as he pulled out a ball of string, and then a compass, and then a packet of his favourite custard cream cookies. In the largest packet he found his battered old safari hat, which he jammed onto his head. Finally, he held up what he had been looking for, a walkie-talkie. Come in, Rescue Zoo, he announced cheerily. Horace speaking. I'm back, and I'm at the panda enclosure with Zoe and Meep. Come quickly, everyone. I brought 2 panda cubs with me. There was a crackle, then all the zoo staff started replying. Mr. Higgins, that's fantastic news, Zoe heard Jess say from the otter enclosure. I'll be there in a minute, added the penguin keeper, Will. The most excited reply was from Stephanie, the keeper who had looked after Su Lin. Pandas, she gasped. 2 of them? I can't believe it. Wait there. I'm coming straight over. There was another crackle, and Zoe heard a familiar, happy voice. Uncle Horace, I'm so pleased you're home, cried her mum, Lucy. I'm on my way now. Don't run off on another adventure before I get there. Great Uncle Horace chuckled. Ah, there's my favourite niece. Don't worry, my dear. This time I'll be staying at the zoo for a few days to help our new arrivals set in. Great Uncle Horace turned back to Zoe. Let's take the twins into their new home, he said. They must be hungry. Did you know that pandas spend more than half of every day eating? How about that, Oscar? Would you like to spend over half of every day eating? I expect you do anyway, don't you? Only joking. And do you know what they love to eat more than anything else? Do you know what pandas love to eat, Oscar, more than anything else? Bamboo, Zoe said. Su Lin had munched through dozens of pieces of hard green bamboo every day. That's right, said Great Uncle Horace. Bamboo's a fascinating plant, Zoe. It grows very quickly indeed, and there are more than 300 different types. Here at the Rescue Zoo, we have just 3 kinds: umbrella, arrow, and golden bamboo. Our new arrivals are still a little too young for bamboo, though. For now, we'll feed them lots of nice, warm milk. Carefully, Great Uncle Horace lifted the crate out of the sidecar and carried it over to the enclosure. Zoe opened the gate with her paw print charm, and they all went inside. Most of the Rescue Zoo's enclosures were kept neat and tidy, but this one had become very overgrown since Su Lin died. Chinese wildflowers had sprung up among the trees, and with no one there to nibble the bamboo plants, they'd grown right up to the top of the fence. Goodness, exclaimed Great Uncle Horace, it feels very wild indeed, as if we really are in the Chinese mountains. How lovely! Now let's see what our new arrivals think. He put the crate down and opened the door all the way so it rested on the ground. Then he stepped back and waited. Zoe watched the crate and tried not to fidget. When an animal was seeing its new home for the first time, the rescue zoo staff were always as quiet and as still as possible. You'd have to be that. You'd do that, wouldn't you, Oscar? You'd be quiet and still, because the two little panda cubs have got to get used to their new home. That way the animal wouldn't be frightened. Zoe didn't move, even though she was so excited, but naughty Meek couldn't be still for a second and hopped up and down, desperate to see what the pandas did. Everything was quiet. Then there was a curious squeak from inside the crate. The cubs had noticed the open door. Suddenly a little face appeared in the doorway. Zoe gasped as she saw the first cub, now wide awake. Her face and body were as white and fluffy as a cloud. Her ears, arms and legs were black, and there was a ring of black fur around each of her bright, curious eyes. Her black nose twitched and she scampered out of the crate excitedly. "I think she likes you, don't you?" whispered Great Uncle Horace. Look, there are the pandas coming out of the crate. Aren't they lovely, Oscar? "So I think she likes you, don't you?" whispered Great Uncle Horace, beaming. Zoe nodded, unable to tear her eyes away from the beautiful animal. Then the second cub peeped out shyly. She was a bit smaller than her sister, with a black splodge on her tummy. She gazed at the lush trees, the glittering waterfall and the tall bamboo plants. Then she put her little head to one side and curiously squeaked a question. "Yes, that's right," Zoe burst out excitedly. "This is your new home, the Rescue Zoo." Both cubs stared at her in surprise. By her feet, Meek squealed in horror. "Shh," the little lemur hissed. "Goo's here." Zoe clapped her hand tightly over her mouth as if she could somehow make the words disappear. Suddenly her heart was racing. She couldn't believe she'd made such a silly mistake. She had talked to the pandas in front of Great Uncle Horace. Whoa! Wow, we'll have to wait and see next time, Oscar. That was a great story, great chapter in the story about the Playful Panda. So we'll have to wait and see which of the two is the Playful Panda. Anyway, lots of love from me, Grandpa, and from Granny, and from Moosey, and lots of love to Mummy and Daddy and your little sister Annabelle, and hope you have fun at school. Just be good, be nice to everyone, and just enjoy yourself, and make sure you do those workbooks and things when you're asked to do them properly. Okay for now. Bye, Oscar. Lots of love. Bye.